ready.
Alrighty, I think we'll be in about 1 second. And all right. Hello, everybody. I'm Andrew, and I'm with Brandon. We're from the Yonko LLC, and we're gonna start a coffee break.
So get that timer up. We got 15 minutes. So last week we talked about crypto, and we talked about proof of power versus no, power proof of work versus proof of stake.
Yeah,
And so one of the things that happened recently in the crypto world is this is one of those things I wanted to point this out. It is very much you read the headline and no one knows anything past the headline
sure.
because so there was a lady and she is in a relationship and she either scammed or lost billions of dollars in crypto.
Well,
Okay, here we go.
yeah. So the way I understand the situation is that this is something that happened like 5 or 6 years ago. There was this exchange called Bitfinex, and at the time, this is actually before I got introduced to crypto. But my understanding is that at the time, I think that was one of the biggest exchanges.
Hmm.
And by exchange, uh, I guess just no crypto, no crypto curious left behind. So an exchange is where you can uh, take fiat money, dollars or whatever, and then exchange it for cryptos. Uh, okay, so that's what an exchange is. So basically, Bitfinex was hacked, and it was I think at the time, I mean, it was a large amount, but it was like 20 or 30 million dollars. And but now that same Bitcoin is worth like, 10 times that or something. Um so anyway, so it was hacked, and then last week or the week before, they finally figured out who has that Bitcoin. And it was this couple that you're about to talk about. So
And and it's that's sort of been the thing that, I don't think anyone would care except she's put out a series of very bad rap
it's
videos.
been very interesting, yeah. And I mean, just the fact that I think it's so interesting because they both had this very public uh, social media uh, profile, and they weren't just like public. It was also very strange public. So
Yes, and well, and it had everything that was. I think if you type in crypto rapper, you'll find her, and it has everything. It's one of those things that it's everything that's sort of upsetting about people my age, like in their early-ish 30s, early to mid 30s. Like it's very millennial. It's rose gold, girl boss energy.
yeah,
Like it's hustle grind, gator. I'm so awkward, but sexuality kind of, but like it has the energy of a person who is purposefully dancing off beat to be different.
right,
Like
yeah,
that's what it is. And it is interesting because it is okay. So if you look at like there was a period of time, I honestly think we forget about this, where like we all cared about The Last Jedi so much. And I'm not a
sure,
Star Wars. People got so mad about The Last Jedi being good or bad that like huge the object like that The Last Jedi and I guess a handful of other pieces of media that usually I would say leaned towards corporate wokeness is what we'll call it,
mhm,
were such sticking points that like if you were to talk about objectivity and art, you like that's what you're going to find is people either blasting or defending. We're gonna do this is next week too. It took us. We're gonna do
sure,
objectivity of our part two,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
because like objectivity or subjectivity in artistic pursuits, and the question I guess becomes: Are is art subjective?
Mhm.
If not, if it is objective, what are what is the objective? That like what is the measuring stick? And if it is not objective, can we use objective thinking to help make it a better subjective experience for more people? So, I mean,
Mm.
that's the because those videos, and like
Yeah.
they're not. What, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
They're not even like okay. So I wanted to show you this because I feel like this is what I can talk about. This is a reprint of the Shag's History of the
Mm.
World that
Okay.
cost me like a lot of money. Um, and like if the Shags are like this cult group that basically, I mean, was a
Mm.
cult, like they're dead. Look it up. We don't have time. Look up the Shags.
Yeah.
And then this is a European boot that cost me less money, but it's still pretty cool.
Mm.
Of because I got it before the Jack White re-release of Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask replica, often considered one of the worst albums of all time. But it's kind of also doing like sort of the same thing that like the Grateful Dead were doing, where everyone's kind of playing the lead the whole time, and everyone's sort of doing their own blues thing.
Yeah.
But is so I'm not talking from I'm not talking from no place. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
wanted to make that was an important thing. I'm not just like oh the la. It was also funny, and this is something that we just haven't talked about. And I know I don't care about Star Wars, but we were so worried about the Last Jedi, right?
Right.
Um, and then the Rise of Skywalker was that one? The
I
one?
guess yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Star Wars guy either, so
There, I like the idea that someone has listened to the music and images that we make, the art we make, and then
yeah.
they're like, "Oh, this is interesting," and then they've gone through all of what they watch, right?
Yeah.
That to get to here, and then they get to here, and they're like, "Oh, well, they're not Star Wars people. I'm out." Like that's what got them. They're like, "Ah, no."
Right, exactly.
Like, that was so bad that no one cared. Like, it
Mm.
was so weird because like, subjectivity and objectivity in art kinda got blown out of the water because the end of Skywalker or whatever that thing was called was just, like, so incohesive, I don't know,
Mhm.
that, like, we just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
Uh, like I've touched on a lot, but, like so, yeah, that's the question is so what are your thoughts, Andrew?
Well, I mean, it's also kind of interesting because I think that the fact that we're talking about this topic is kind of interesting because what we're doing is fairly experimental itself.
Mhm,
So I mean, I'm kind of presuming that if anyone is actually like watching this, that they have, looked at your art and listened to my music and they have at least been interested in it. You know, if if being like excited and like, being a groupie is too much to ask, at least that they're, you know, at least they're enjoying, what we're doing.
something's going on that's firing properly
Yeah,
in the
exactly. Because, but the reason I bring that up is because I think that this experimental idea, like, there's probably a lot of people who might just say that what we're doing is crap,
Mhm,
and which I mean I'm okay with. I don't have to have everybody love everything I do. Um, and I'm just curious. I'm kind of curious, like you know, we're basically talking about that idea of subjectivity, but what you said about objectivity, I mean, like is there any way to objectify what we're doing and say like we like what we're doing, but
mhm.
maybe what we're doing is really really bad, even from an objective, even though subjectively we like it. And what's actually kind of interesting is that at the same it's been almost kind of a simultaneous progression, because when we started this, it was around like the end of summer, early fall when we started, and at that exact time, I was also starting a this acoustic duo,
Mhm,
and with Joe,
mhm,
and you've probably seen stuff like on Facebook. I've been posting about that, and it's really interesting because the whole point of that duo is to play a kind of popular music. We're not really writing stuff. We're doing covers. And it's not something I consciously thought about until like a few weeks ago. I was like, this is a really interesting parallel here because I'm doing something that on one side is purely meant. to be popular,
I mean,
because we're playing in bars, and doing that kind of stuff, and we can't do the kind of stuff we're doing with Zodiac, in bars, So
not without warning people. We're doing the
yeah,
type of art that if when not if when it
yeah,
goes in front of people, we have to warn people first. Like
right,
I'm gonna let them know and be like, "This is coming. You can't be surprised. You
right,
can." And I'm not an insult. Like some stuff, and that does offer to it is like that type of art. You can be like, "Oh, those dudes are playing closing time. Everyone's playing closing time in my mind. You don't have to be playing
yeah,
closing time." And that's fine. I can still eat dinner. But if like Yonko's going, you can't eat dinner to Yonko. It's not
right,
built to eat
exactly,
dinner to.
yeah,
Even though if you want to, that'd be fine. If you want to eat dinner to Yonko, it's 30 minutes. That's a nice break. You can check it out. Excuse me.
yeah.
Um, but
Well, the reason I mentioned that is because, like, even from that side, I I got my when I went to school, I was studying classical music, and I mean, in that classical world, like there is a great hatred for popular music from a lot of people, and so like the people that are that are playing Bach and Beethoven and stuff like that, they look at closing time or whatever song and say like, uh, that that's the worst song that's ever written,
mhm,
um, and so it's just interesting. I think a lot of it has to do with like what background you have and um, what your personal interests are. So I don't know. I've talked a little bit. Go ahead.
of course. Yeah. Well, it's also like it's the question of what is art.
Mhm,
By asking is art subjective versus objective, you are actually asking the question, what is art and what is its duty?
hmm.
Is its duty to be it's a duty. Uh, is it to be a
We're not
tool?
above potty jokes here.
Right?
We're not above potty jokes.
No, I've never been Ben. Is it the job to is it because we are making something and we like it? Is that enough? Is it to be a tool to other people? Like what is the by asking is art objective or subjective, I think what you're really asking is what is its job?
Mm,
And does it do the job you want it to? Which is weird because it's a Yonko LLC conversation, so we can say this. It's a very capitalist thing to say. What is
mm,
something's job? This is not a tree. It makes us oxygen. It doesn't really care about you, but like we need to plant trees to make oxygen, not to have more trees or so that we have shade. Like it's a very uh, commu- uh, exchangey way of thinking. But I
mhm.
can't not think that way. I don't
Right.
know if you know this. We do live in a society.
Well, I like that a lot. I don't know if I've ever thought of it that way, actually. Like thinking, okay, what is? I mean, I've thought of like what is the purpose of something, but I think that actually gives it. That actually kind of, I think, gives it more um, guidance. I think, if you think of it
Mhm,
that way, because in that sense, there really is no good or bad. It's really just okay. What is the purpose of this? And if if for one person, this experimental stuff doesn't serve a purpose, then that's okay if it doesn't serve it for them.
mhm.
But it might serve purpose for someone else.
I
And
think
same thing with popular music. Like um, because what I was saying before, like we're playing, uh, we're playing like uh, uh, Nirvana or whatever, in a bar. And if someone comes to see Yonko and play Nirvana, then they're probably not going to like that, right? So,
mhm.
mm,
And, well, I think that's also it's one of those things, there are 3 types of music.
mm,
There's music for dancing, music for listening, and music for thinking about. And it can be the thing is it can be the full triangle. You can do to the full triangle, but there's you can I mean, why is John Cage chance music? Well, you go, okay, well, John Cage is chance music because if you think about ambient noise, if you think about the most notorious piece in the whole world for some reason, 433, like, oh, it's just silence. Well, no, it's actually it's an activity of listening is what it's
right.
built to do with the gimmick of it being so wild. Like that's the gimmick, so that gets you there, and then hopefully halfway through you have this active listening moment
Mm,
and that's its job, but it's not it but if you compare it to closing time, the greatest song ever written, uh, I will only reference Closing Time. That'll be the only song I reference.
That's fine.
It doesn't do the same like, you can't be like, "Well, what is this versus what is this?" Because, like, Closing Time is music for dancing to, not
Mhm.
for listening to maybe, but, it's music for that, not for active hearing
Yeah.
the world around you job, and that's our 15 minutes. That was fast. We're done.
Yeah, we gotta continue this next week, I think.
Okay, cool.
'Cause, yeah, this is great.
I love that 15-minute timer. I love it so much.
I mean, I love it, but I also hate it.
I
So
it's one of the things that makes it for me
yeah,
so tense is like that I'll stand by it forever. There's gonna be days where it's gonna be hard to fill the 15 minutes, I'm
yeah,
sure.
sure.
But like we started 5 minutes was we need to figure out this crypto thing from last week, and now we have 10 minutes. Oh, it's so good.